Yeah. I don't know the sound. Oh, I gotta turn up music. Okay, let's play.
And that's all, folks.
July. July.
It was a terrible. That's Porky Pig. Terrible Porky Pig.
I don't know if I can do a Porky Pig.
Try it. Just do one real quick. I just embarrassed myself. You can embarrass yourself.
Okay. Well, let me get in character.
Right.
That's all, folks.
That wasn't terrible.
That's so terrible.
That was better than mine. That's for sure.
Oh, delete this. Never play this. Never show this.
I remember I always thought like I did a really good Tasmanian Devil. And then like I recorded myself and I'm like, oh, that's terrible. Like that's not good at all. He does like the...
I thought I used to be able to do Yoda pretty well.
Yes. Scared you are.
I think you do a good job of it. I think it's when it's when you hear yourself back, you're just like, I thought I was doing better. Like you're never as good as you think you're doing. I think like unless you're a professional and then you probably know how you're doing. But like whatever you do, whether it's good or not, you think you're better than that. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, in my head, I think I hear it before it comes out and it sounds great. And so I think there's a resonance of that still, even though it really doesn't sound like it.
Okay. Wait. Here's a poll. People watching. Should we do, I've got an idea just now where I think what we should do is a voiceover challenge. Where you and I take like really famous scenes in like animation and shows like that, and you and I do the voices for the characters just to see like how terrible it could be.
Oh, that would be epic fail on purpose.
No, hang on. You need to hear this. You need to hear the story. So I went to Disney World when I was a kid, right? Well, I say kid. I was probably like 15. I was in a band at the time. I was a singer in a band.
I was 26.
Well, it was a heavy metal band, so it's like screaming, so it's not really being a singer, right? In the traditional form of melody, if you will. So we go to this, in Disney, they had these like sound booths where you would see like subtitled down below what the characters are saying, and you'd have to do the voiceover for them. And what I did is I cupped the mic, like I covered it, which does a couple things. One, it muffles it, which is, why a lot of metal singers will do that. Adds distortion to it, but it also makes it a lot louder. Like if you're not cupping, it's just a lot quieter. But I don't think I realized how much louder it would be. It's no longer there. If you go to Disney today, it's not there. But this is, my dad is so embarrassed to this day because I was doing Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I was voicing the witch, offering the apple to Snow White.
Oh.
I do my recording, cupping the mic, because I didn't want my sisters to hear. When it plays back, it was the sound of Satan booming so loud in this studio.
Do you want an apple?
So it was so loud. My dad stood stiffed back, turned around, and walked out, pretending not to know us. My mom runs over and is hitting all the buttons on the sound booth trying to get it stopped. Babies are crying and being rushed out of the building. It was so dang loud. I had no idea it was going to be this loud. And you go out into the street, it's like one of those movies where everybody is frozen and their head is turned and looking at this building because of this loud sound that's coming out of it. That's my first and last voice acting experience. So if you guys want to check that out, let us know, and we'll do a voice challenge for you.
That could be fun and dangerous and a failure all at the same time. But I'm up for the challenge to embarrass myself for your viewing pleasure.
Welcome to the Codex Cantina. I'm Una.
And I'm Crypto, and we're doing the July wrap-up.
Our schedule's way off. Did you guys know we took 2 weeks off in July? Like, we busted in June to have enough content, and now we're trying to pump some stuff out for August because we've got to really pack August. Not because it's the least watched month of BookTube for us, but because it's Women in Translation Month coming up in August, and that is super important to us. So stay tuned for our TBR on that. Let's do a wrap up on July, which some of these were a long time ago because of our 2-week break.
Okay, let me see if I can remember. I read stuff. We're doing pick of the month.
Oh, we're doing pick of the month? Okay, let's do pick of the month.
You go
All right,
first.
I've got my pick. I've got my pick. You want me to do it?
Yeah.
This is, I don't know why. Maybe it's in retrospect. Mine's Sanshiro by Natsume Soseki.
I kind of wanted to pick that one, but I was like, he'll probably pick East of Eden, so I can pick Sanshiro.
Well, now you can pick East of Eden.
Okay, yeah. I think they're both worth reading in our circles, but I think maybe East of Eden wins out a little bit in the grander scheme of literature, maybe? I don't know. It's a good argument, right?
East of Eden has to be in the running for first classic someone could pick up. I think this is easily relatable, very deep if you need to, but very surface if you want to. It's the most approachable classic that I can think of right now, I think. The only challenge to it is that it's 600 pages. That's the only downfall to like recommending it to anyone, if you will.
Yeah. And Sanshiro, if you're more of like a history nerd or you really love Japanese history and or culture, I think that you pick up that one over East of Eden, maybe. And the 600 pages is daunting to you. I love both books, so they're both fantastic.
It's the underdog. It's the underdog, right? I'm picking the underdog because I know most people, East of Eden's a safer bet, right? But Sanshiro is very interesting for someone looking to learn more about the Meiji era and how it could impact the people at the time and how there was so much fear and there's this there's dread happening because of how fast their society's changing and they don't know what they're going to become.
If I could assign books to go along with my AP curriculum, I don't have time. I wish I had 2 years for my AP world history students. I would assign this book when we got to this time period for Japan in the 19th century for sure.
You get a really good idea for the life of the Meiji era. If I recall correctly, there were it was very peak and valley read. Like there was some highlights and there was also some lowlights, if you will, too. Like Agreed. I could do without that. But it was 200 pages and it's like stuffed with great wisdom, philosophy, and just experiences.
Humor.
And it's
character
hysterical.
Development.
Yeah, very, very hysterical. Now, East of Eden, oh gosh, like how do you come up with something negative to say besides like it's 600 pages? Like I can't think of a single negative thing to say perhaps of it. Can you?
I mean, I would have to be super nitpicky. I mean, nothing of substance to say negative about it. No.
Right. It's not too on the nose, like you'd expect perhaps with a book called East of Eden. It's not too deep. It's not too shallow. It's like the perfect blend, and it just flows, and it's hysterical. It's entertaining. Yeah. It makes you so angry at one of the characters. Like you love to hate this one character. And for a book to make you feel that way, not in a way of like you're disgusted with the book, but like, I hope that character gets their comeuppings. Like that says something. That says something about a book, and it says something about you that you feel so strongly about that.
Yeah, my emotions were all over the place. And when a book can do that, then obviously it is done something correct. Besides maybe a little bit wordy and kind of feels drawn out towards the end, but then it ramps up and it leaves you satisfied. Yeah, it's hard without nitpicking little tiny details to say negative things about East of Eden. So Johnny Stein did good on that one.
Let's do some stars. Sanshiro. We're going to do 1 to 5 star rating. What are you giving Sanshiro?
Oh, stars. This is all new to me. How much do the stars equal? Is it plasma? I don't know. 5. I'm confused.
5 for Sanshiro?
4.5.
I'm not trying to talk you out of it. What's going on over there?
I don't know. The star thing
changed our rating system,
and
it's like you broke down.
Collected? I don't know.
Oh this is terrible. We're going back to our old rating system.
I give it a 10.
All right, I'm gonna go with Gosh, this is because it really depends if you're a peak or valley rater too, right? Because the peaks were so high. There's just memorable parts of this, but there's also low parts. So how are you rating it? I'm gonna go with like an average and accept that there were low parts, and I'm gonna say 3 out of 5 stars.
Okay, I like that rating.
But which is hard because like those high points are like amazing. Like I've very rarely reached high points as high as that book got, right? Except for like maybe like Dostoevsky, for me, Kurt Vonnegut. Very rarely has an author touched me in a way. That sounds weird. that this book did. So I'm looking forward to reading more from this author, I guess, is one of the big takeaways. Now, East of Eden, 5 out of 5. Is that even arguable?
I guess, again, somebody could say it was too long and wordy. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5, but yeah, that one's a definite 5 out of 5.
Yeah, okay, that's
Loved
a good
it.
point. Like, some people would find it wordy, 4 out of 5. And I get that, like, it's just different preferences, right? Like, I'm not going to condemn you for it. But if you wrote it...
But if you're reading classic literature, come on. You have to expect
I want to know, if you read classic literature and you gave this one a 1 out of 5, I need to hear you. I need to hear your voice because I want to know, like, what did it
What is a 5 out of 5 to you?
Yeah, because, gosh, this book was incredible. Now, something I didn't tell you about, but I read the BFG. Have you heard of that one?
Roald Dahl, right? You read it with your son?
Yeah, we did. Yeah. My son and I did the Roald Dahl on our trip out to Knoxville in our 2-week break here. Have you done that one?
I have not read that Roald Dahl story, no. I was a James and the Giant Peach kind of guy, remember?
Yeah, well, I remember that. So for that one, I would say this. You go back and watch like some 80s comedies now. Some of it doesn't hold up so well. You know what I mean?
It dated, yeah.
I would say there's parts that were pretty funny for me. Like he's doing a lot of wordplay where he's talking about countries, how, people from Swedish taste sweet, right? And people from Turkey taste like turkey, and people from Greece are greasy, right? Like, it's like, okay, like it starts out kind of funny and some of those are kind of cringy, but then it got to Japan and it said like they were, what did it say? It said they were like short or something like that, which, statistically they are shorter, but it still felt very, it started to get to the point where people were put in so many boxes. You're in this box, you're in this box. And it just doesn't hold up so well to modern sensibilities, if you will. And there's so much like funky wordplay that like it kind of, for me, like if you're into that, like you're going to love it. Like if you love like creative little twists and terms and when like characters invent their own words, like this is probably a book for you. To me, that wears on me a little bit. So I'm not getting super negative on it, but I think that's what brought it down if I'm able to articulate that. So I would go 4 out of 5 stars for me on this one. Definitely some super cringy moments that I don't think held up as well.
I actually read another novel too on the side that I forgot to tell you about. My niece finished her second full novel, and she read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So I went ahead and read that real quick. It's pretty short. So I was able to just read it in a few hours.
The Chronicles of Narnia. The Chronic
Yeah, so she read. Yeah, well, they do a book that has a movie. So when they finish the book, they get to watch the movie, even though that movie is awful, in my humble opinion. The book was fantastic. Even after reading all these years later, it has, intrigue and fantasy and cool characters and adventure and action. And, I loved it. So Lion, the Witch, and Wardrobe, still a 5 out of 5 for me. So maybe one day, Crypto Yellow and I will do another little breakdown of her second novel she ever read. So we'll see. We kind of talked about it as I was on my vacation visiting her for her 6th birthday. And it was interesting how to view it through the eyes of a child and not be so analytical. It was fun.
Can you not bring up the Red Scare and stuff like that if you do an analysis? But she doesn't. I was watching your James and the Giant Peach. I was like, what?
Well, I mean, it's there.
No, it's there. But with the 6-year-old, she's just like, what?
I'm going to bring up all the religious stuff when we do The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It's going to happen. It has to.
There's a ton of stuff in there. I read that when I was like mid-20s, so I still recall it pretty well. But that was a fun series. I like that series. Now, speaking of series, let's go to comics and manga, where you and I did the Green Light Blackest Night run. We started from Rebirth. I read all of them along with the Green Lantern Corps series. I think you've read some of the highlights because you couldn't get access to all of them. Jeff Johns, greatest run, allegedly. What are you going to give this one?
I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I will say that it is amazing. Definitely worth a read. Definitely worth spending your money on. I loved it. I loved getting back into comics since I really hadn't been reading a lot lately, since I'd been focusing mostly on our novels and short stories. If you like DC Comics, you're going to love it. If you like Green Lantern, it's going to be your favorite ever. If you just like comics in general, maybe you get a 3 out of 5. But getting back into it, I loved it. It was great.
You know what it was to me? It was very, what's the purpose of life? You know what I mean? But maybe not the most advanced discussion of it, but it was definitely there. And I thought it was interesting because you had remember you had the Blue Lanterns that are very like faith, right? Like you got to believe and you got to have trust and hope in something. And then you had like Necron, who was like the nihilist that wanted to destroy everything and believed only in death and stuff like that. And you had like the Purple, which were the love-free hippie movements, if you will. And you had like Larfreeze, who was like he was all about himself. He was kind of like objectivism, like kind of like an Ayn Rand type character, if you will. But
the orange, the greed.
It's there. I thought it was kind of interesting. I'll go 4 out of 5 as well.
All right, so we're done with comics. Let's move on to everyone's favorite, our shorty shorts. We read a lot of short stories.
Yeah, let's group them together and just kind of talk about what the highlights were, what we'd recommend. So we did A Day's Wait by Ernest Hemingway, the 1963-1982 Girl from Ipanema by Haruki Murakami, as well as The Elephant Vanishes. And then we did Sweetness by Toni Morrison, A Hunger Artist by Franz Kafka, and The Chrysanthemums by John Steinbeck. What were some of the highlights of these for you?
Sweetness, Toni Morrison, wow, character development, 10 out of 5. If you're doing this 5-star thing, collect it, read it, get it in your brain. Please read that one. That was definitely the standout for me. It was in contention. If there were 2 other novels, like if we had read Song of Susanna and maybe something else, Sweetness probably would have been my pick of the month for sure. I was very surprised with A Day's Wait. I'm not a big Hemingway fan. He's growing on me. I'm coming around to understanding his writing style of, that crispness that's there, I guess you could say. I was surprised of how much I was able to get out of that one and enjoy it. And then, of course, John Steinbeck, we did the novel and then we did Chrysanthemums. And for me, it's always a joy to see how excited you get about the flowers and how much I realize I don't know and how much you can learn from a story like that with how you were able to pull out so much information of all these little nuances on what the colors and the type of flowers mean in literature. And I love that because I was never taught that in high school or college. So it's a joy to me for you to have so much fun with it and then teach me about it as well.
For me, I would add on to that The Hunger Artist. I enjoyed that one because I thought we had a really interesting discussion on that with the idea of social media. That's actually coming out today, so I haven't even looked at what it looks like, but I can promise you at least we'll have like 1 or 2 dislikes by then because we had such an out there interpretation, like the themes are there to kind of compare, commodity and art to it. But I know some people have a hard time adjusting to really out there interpretations, but I think that's what our channel wants to do is we want to continue to push really creative ways of how do we find meaning in literature. And that's not to say to contort it to something it's not supposed to be, but to look at it and then really say, how does this apply from a use in my life today, right? The usage of not having food is not relevant for me. I'm very fortunate enough to have food on my plate every day, so I cannot relate to the biographical take that you pointed out at the end of that video of him, not having as much food, but I can relate from that concept of the pushing for more and what does art mean versus what does it mean to commoditize something. So that meant a lot to me. And it also came out right when we were doing Patreon too, right? As we started to commoditize ourselves, as YouTube already commoditizes us and is making you watch videos like this and other videos and stay on the platform and try and trick your brain into spending as much time as possible. It's just, what a cool story to kind of bring that out. I like that one.
1 dislike. The video has 1 dislike.
Oh, did you just look it up? That's funny. I knew it would get,
I was intrigued. I was like, ooh, I wonder if we do have 2 dislikes.
Yeah. No, because whenever you have like a really out there, the dislike, I mean, who knows what that means? Like sometimes it's like you're wrong. Sometimes like I don't care for that interpretation, but I'd rather have a video out there that pushes what does literature mean in our lives then try and play it safe to try to avoid dislikes. Like that makes no sense to me. So I
they interact
am
with the video, so I'm fine with it too. Hit those dislikes.
I'm happy to keep pushing this literature. If you guys are happy for us to keep pushing this literature, hit that subscribe button. A big shout out to all of our patrons that have made this possible and are helping us to keep the channel running, because we have a very expensive hobby here, if you will. So guys, we super appreciate your support out here. We post videos every Monday and Wednesday with bonus videos on Tuesdays. Una out.
Peace.